Hey, what's up, YouTube? In this episode, we're going to get more of my short block put together. It is a 350 I pulled out of the junkyard out of a 98 Chevy truck. They made them 96 through 2000 where they had vortec heads. They were one-piece roller, or they were one-piece rear main seals, and they had factory hydraulic roller cams. They also had a little better pistons with thinner rings and better, stronger connecting rods. I bought a comp hydraulic roller cam. It's kind of mild. I got self-guided roller rockers. They're Scorpions. I got all the right valve springs. I got the tools to machine my heads for the valve springs. Double roller timing chain. I got a Hawaiian, I think it's a Street Warrior. It's an air gap style Hawaiian intake. It's about, I've seen a dyno test where it made comparable power with the RPM air gap. It's a pretty good intake. I got long tube headers. This is all going in my Chevy truck. But anyways, let's get started. Alright, so the crank and the piston rods are in. I've went ahead, switched this timing sprocket out for the one for my double roller. I put it in, there's 3 different spots. I put it in straight up, which was on the 0. Now, I have a few things over here that I cleaned up. This reluctor wheel, I don't really know if I'm going to need it or not. It just depends on spacing, so I'm going to have to see when I put the front of it together. There's a windage tray I need to put in, my retaining plate for my camshaft, and my oil pump. I went ahead and I set the height for the oil pump already, and I tacked the pickup to the case. Now, basically how you do that, first you got to take your oil pump and you got to have it sitting on the bench basically, and you got to beat your pickup tube into it. I do it with a wrench that fit it really good. There's actually a tool to do it. You can get away with a wrench. Then you bolt it up to your engine and you push it up so you know it's going to be too low, if that makes sense, and you shove your pan down on top of it. That will put it so it's touching the bottom of the pan. Then you need to move it about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch down closer. You want about 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, somewhere around there, clearance between your pickup and your pan. I've already set all that. We're going to go ahead and get our pump through back together here. There's a few things that I did to this pump. I went in here with a die grinder and I smoothed all this out and made this a better entryway for my oil or for the oil to go in there. That will help out a lot. I also go inside here and there's a step inside this hole that I take out of there, and I match this to the block so that lines up perfect. On here I opened all this up and smoothed it out. I went and chamfered all these edges and just made sure there wasn't no sharp edges on it. I also did the same thing with this. I chamfered all the edges on it. Even inside here, everything's chamfered. But this is all clean, and we're going to go ahead and throw it back together. So how I like to do this is I like to have some assembly lube in here. A lot of people put Vaseline or grease, thick oil. It's just something to get a seal in here right away and to get this thing pumping. You're going to get some dripped in that hole for the shaft on the other gear. Go ahead and drop this one in. Get some on the bottom of this gear. It draws it in on this side. But as you can see, that's nice and covered. As soon as this thing fires, it's gonna start pumping oil. Now I'm probably going to have some oil come out of the bottom of this, which is fine. I want to make sure I don't get none of them threads for the bolts to hold this together. That's really all I'm worried about. I'll wipe it off these tops. Now, we're going to go ahead and put this top together. And I like to use blue Loctite on the bolts. Something you don't want coming apart. I'll go ahead and get some on one of them just to get it started. You don't need a whole lot. These are all 10mm bolts on these milling oil pumps. This is actually a standard volume pump, standard pressure pump. You don't need nothing extravagant, especially if you kind of smooth all the passageways out and kind of do a little bit of oil modifications. You really don't need nothing crazy, especially for what I'm doing. This is a truck engine. It's going to be I don't know, it'd be a good street car engine. We'll go ahead and get this set on here. I already have my oil pump drive shaft sitting down in the hole. Just sets on here anyways. You can set it on there first and bring it down. It's still going to fall down though, so it don't really matter. Just going to set that on there. Engine oil under the head and on the bolt. Now this gets torqued down to 65 foot-pounds. I don't think you need to, but I'm going to go ahead and Loctite these windage tray nuts. It's something I do not want coming off, even though I think these are like a stover nut. They have like a damaged thread at the top of them, so they're kind of a lock nut, but still, like I said, it's something you don't want coming off. I'd rather put a little Loctite on them and be safe. So now we're going to degree this cam in. I don't have the right Torx bit here. I'm just a little too small. I don't want to strip these out, so I'm just lightly tightening these for now. I'm going to pick some Torx bits up tomorrow after work. I also need to dig and find another bolt for my camshaft, but we're just degreeing it in right now. On these factory hydraulic roller cams, you can see where this sits back in here. So you can obviously tell which side it goes on. You need to grind and relieve this area right here before you even do this, before your block's clean, all that. I also need to put my oil galley plugs in, but right now I just want to check this camshaft. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to turn your crank to where this looks like it's straight up, your timing mark, and you're going to turn this to where it looks like it's exactly where it goes. Then you're going to take this gear back off. You're going to keep doing that over and over until you can get your chain to your timing chain. Now you take this back off. Don't spin your cam. You're going to put your chain on this gear. Now you're going to try to put your chain on here and make it line up. That's kind of close. that might actually work. Might have got it. A lot of times you got to keep doing that and turning and trying it in different spots until you finally get it. Actually, the cam needs to turn that way just a touch, but you'll have to keep going back and forth between these, taking this on and off, spinning your camshaft just a little by little until you get it right. So now we'll wiggle it off there. We know this camshaft needs to go counterclockwise just a hair. Set our chain down, put this on here, put one bolt in. I might have turned it too much. That's probably about right there. But basically, you just got to keep going back and forth. A lot of people won't even degree these in. They just put it dot to dot. I just like to know, make sure no mistakes were made or anything like that. So now we have this on here. I really should have another bolt. Should be lightly going back and forth between all three of them to do this and pull it on there right exactly where it needs to be. Now I want to turn my engine over and make sure all this clears, especially where I relieved it up there. You can actually take a flashlight and look up in here and make sure everything's going to clear there. But I'm going to turn it over, make sure nothing funny's going on. Turn it over twice till your timing marks line back up. Alright guys, we're going to end this video here. I appreciate you guys watching. And the next episode, we're going to get this camshaft agreed in. And I'm going to show you how to check your piston to head clearance or your quench. We're going to put the oil pan and the timing chain cover on and button the short block up. Appreciate you guys watching. If you guys can, subscribe to see more. See this thing go in the truck. Get to see it drive. It drives now. I'm actually going to do a before video of the motor that I have put together now and this afterwards. So stay tuned.